Circuit Court is in session. Yeah, well, Michael, Sarah, signing. Maybe see it.
Okay, we are back on record in file 24-21841-FC, People versus Dale Warner, and we are prepared to resume with trial today. I have met with the attorneys in chambers, and procedurally, we're going to take care of a couple of things at this point that are normally wouldn't happen until after the people rest, but the people are about to rest, and so rather than bring the jury in, hear the prosecutor say that, and then send them back out to deal with some procedural things that they can't see, we are going to just take care of those now. And so, did you want to put your agreement regarding the exhibits on the record at this point, or will you've agreed to wait until a little bit later? Is that accurate?
We'd like to wait till later, Your Honor.
That's accurate. That way the jury won't be kept waiting.
All right, and Ms. Chartier, you wanted to make a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would make a motion for a directed verdict. I understand the court well knows the standard, has heard the testimony over the last few weeks, so I won't go in and reiterate it. I would just ask the court to grant our motion. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Wise.
Your Honor, when the court views the prosecution's evidence at the time this motion is made in the light most favorable to the prosecution, you must determine whether a rational trier of fact could find that the essential elements of the crime were proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Again, you've been here the entire trial, so we would ask you to deny that motion.
The court is required to state its reasons for ruling on such motion on the record so that can be reviewed. A directed verdict is appropriate only if, considering all of the evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution, no rational trier of fact could find that the essential elements of the crimes charged were proven beyond a reasonable doubt. For the purposes of this analysis, the prosecution evidence is taken as true, and all fair inferences are drawn in favor of guilt. It is impermissible for the trial court to determine the credibility of witnesses in deciding a motion for a directed verdict, no matter how inconsistent or vague the testimony may have been. In this case, I do think there is ample evidence from which fair inferences can be drawn that all of the elements of the crimes charged have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. There is evidence that on April 24, 2021, Ms. Warner intended to tell Mr. Warner that she wanted to sell the family business and get a divorce. Mr. Warner told law enforcement that a discussion around these topics took place that night. Mr. Warner was the last person known to be with Ms. Warner while she was alive. There is testimony that Mr. Warner consistently told law enforcement that he did not learn of Ms. Warner's disappearance until he received a call from Stephanie Volkel. And there's evidence in the record that Mr. Warner attempted to locate Ms. Warner's cell phone through the Find My Friends app before he received that call. Mr. Warner is seen on security camera footage on April 25, 2021, collecting the tools that, according to Justin Schmidt, the prosecution's welding expert, someone would need in order to cut open an anhydrous ammonia tank and then weld it back together. He's also seen moving a tank around the property. There's a photograph of Mr. Warner with redness on his arms that is, again, according to Mr. Schmidt, consistent with the type of burn one would get from welding with exposed skin. There was testimony from Mr. Boyd that Mr. Warner rarely did any welding, once or twice over the period of 4 years that he worked there, and only did it on small jobs. Detective Greca's body cam footage from April 27, 2021 shows a tank with a unique blow-off valve cover, one that no witness who was asked about it had ever seen before. And that was near the burn pile on the Munger Road property. Mr. Warner's then seen on drone footage moving the tank during a search of that property later on April 27, 2021. Mr. Warner's seen in the spray barn with an anhydrous tank on April 29, 2021, talking with Detective Brecka on that body cam footage. And a tank with the same unique blow-off valve cover is then discovered in the Paragon Road property much later. But that is property owned by Mr. Warner in that barn, and ultimately Ms. Warner's body was found in that tank. A rational trier of fact could infer from all that information that Mr. Warner is the person who killed Ms. Warner and that he concealed her body in the anhydrous ammonia tank. The autopsy performed by Dr. Cho concluded that the cause of death was homicide, and Dr. Cho testified that the causes of death were a blunt force trauma to the back of the head and strangulation. Viewing that evidence in the light most favorable to the people, it would be reasonable to infer, or a reasonable jury could infer, that the killing was intentional, and that since Ms. Warner was both hit on the head and strangled, that there was a real and substantial reflection for enough time to think twice about the killing. Alternatively, a reasonable jury could also conclude by making different inferences about the evidence that would also be reasonable and fair, that Mr. Warner either intended to kill or do great bodily harm, created a very high risk of great bodily harm. Any one of which could be inferred from the injuries. And with respect to the tampering charge, the same facts that I've just outlined could be used by the jury to make rational inferences that Mr. Warner tampered with or concealed Ms. Warner's body, which would satisfy the elements necessary for the tampering charge. So for those reasons, I would deny the motion for a direct verdict.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I do the colloquy with Mr. Warner?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warner, would you please stand? Mr. Warner, oh, I'm sorry, would you like him sworn in?
Yeah, Mr. Warner, I'll ask you to raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
Yes.
Mr. Warner, you understand you have the constitutional right not to testify at trial, correct?
Yes.
And that right means that if you choose not to testify, the jury cannot hold that against you when they are deliberating. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The court will give a jury instruction to the jury that they cannot hold or exercising of that right against you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You also can choose to forego that constitutional right and decide to testify at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
At trial, I would ask you questions and then the government would have the opportunity to cross-examine you as well. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And you would have to answer all questions unless the judge held that there was an evidentiary basis for you to not answer them. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We have discussed this numerous times. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions for me about exercising or not exercising that right?
No.
At this time, is it your decision that you will not be testifying at trial?
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just checking the recording system.
Oh.
Mr. Warner's voice was a little low there. I just want to make sure I got it.
I hear it.
Okay, all right, we're all set.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to bring the jury back in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Oh, Miss is back.
Yeah, that's
back.
fine.
You gotta sit on the bench.
Yeah, you could just wait there by the gate. Right here.
You may be seated.
Okay, members of the jury, welcome back. Ms. Wise, do the people have any further witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor, the people would rest at this time.
Ms. Sharkey.
Thank you, Your Honor. No, that's okay. We called Julie back.
Oh, Ms. Bach, you'll come forward to the witness stand. And before you sit down, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury. You can go ahead and have some.
Good morning. Will you please state and spell your name for the record?
Julie Bach, Juliebock.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you to try to speak as loudly as possible just because
Okay.
that microphone doesn't amplify. It's for recording. Do you know Dale Warner?
Yes, I do.
How do you know him?
He's my ex-husband.
When did you get married to Mr. Warner?
December 30th, 1988.
And did you date him for a period of time before 1988?
Yes, almost 5 years.
So how old would you have been when you first started dating Mr.
We
Warner?
were 16,
How long were you married to him?
almost 15 years,
And what year did you get divorced?
2003.
When you were with Mr. Warner for the years that you were together, did he have a cough?
Yes, he didn't have it when we first met, but over the course of time, he developed some sort of cough. He had to clear his throat a lot and a cough. It's probably in the last 5 years, maybe.
The last 5 of
Y-
your marriage?
Yes, probably.
So what year would you say that started?
That would be purely a guess, but
You got divorced in 2003, so it was
right, yeah,
1998.
probably,
fair?
yeah, probably.
Did the cough develop or change over time?
Um, I think it got a little bit worse over time. I
And
noticed it more.
if you had to describe what it was
Mhm.
like, can you describe that?
Well, it was a lot of throat clearing, or a cough. It wasn't like a deep cough. Yeah, it was like a throat clearing.
And did you see Mr. Warner after you got divorced? Were there still occasions where you would run into him?
Yes,
Did you notice him have a cough after you got divorced?
yes. I remember. It was at Cameron, our youngest daughter's mm, National Honor Society banquet, and it was quiet in the room, and we were at the same table, and he had that same cough, and I had forgotten about it, honestly. But yeah, he had that same cough, and I thought, wow, he still got that.
What years was the banquet, if you remember?
Um, Probably 2017-ish.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You indicated you were married for 15 years to the defendant?
Almost, yes.
All right. And you got divorced in 2003?
Yes.
You had 4 children as a result of that marriage?
Yes, we did.
When you were divorced, the judgment of divorce granted you the marital home, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And it granted the defendant his farm, but he had to pay you an additional $130,000 on top of that. Is that correct?
Check relevance.
Mr. Warner indicated that he was never going through another divorce again, no matter what, it wasn't worth it. This is relevant to his motive, intent.
I don't.
You overruled the objection, Your Honor?
Yes.
The defendant had to pay you an additional $130,000 to keep that farm. Is that accurate?
I don't know the exact sum. I do know that he had the land. It wasn't actually a farm. He got some farm land and all the farm equipment, and I got the house, and he paid off the house.
Okay, and if
So
you're,
I had a house free and clear.
may I approach the witness? Of the judgment of divorce. This is document.
Oh, thank you. So this is- Yep. Mhm. Okay, so you want them?
No.
Admission, the judge pay out within 90 days. Yes, that would have went to pay off the home. The mortgage on the house, that's what that was for.
Okay, so he had to pay you an additional $130,000, correct?
Well, I don't remember receiving that. I just remember the mortgage getting paid off. But I think that was probably the amount of our mortgage, so yes.
You were awarded full custody of the children in the beginning,
Yes,
and you guys had a custody battle.
yes,
You went to court a number of times regarding the children.
yes, we did.
You had to hire an attorney for those hearings,
Yes,
and the defendant hired an attorney for those hearings.
yes,
The defendant had to pay you in the beginning approximately $1,200 a month in child support,
yes, he did.
and then you took him back to raise the child support eventually, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that was eventually awarded at $1,600 a month. Is that correct?
Maybe for a very short time period.
Within a day or two of D going missing, the defendant called you, correct?
Yes,
And he, at that time, he indicated to you he wanted Cameron to come and do the books for the business. Is that accurate?
yes,
You were talking about a cough that that the defendant had while you were married to him. Is that accurate?
yes.
And do you know anything about anhydrous ammonia?
I know it smells awful.
Ever been around it or?
Um, I not well, yeah, yes and no, just because of the farm. You could smell it in the field sometimes when you drive by.
If the defendant indicated during an interview on May 3rd while he was coughing that his lungs were burned from anhydrous ammonia, would you have any reason to believe that that wasn't what caused him to cough?
Objection, speculation.
She
I
just,
agree with that.
I'll withdraw the, thank you. Nothing further.
Going through the divorce with Mr. Warner, was it civil?
Very.
Did you use the same attorney?
Yes, we did.
Did you go to lunch after your divorce?
Yes, we did.
Was it the same day?
Yes,
I have nothing further.
The initial divorce, you used the same attorney, correct?
yes,
And then you had multiple hearings after that where you each had your own attorney, correct?
that's correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
I have nothing further. We have no objection. Oh, unless there's questions, we have no objection to releasing her from her.
No objection. She can be released.
Thank you. You can step down. You're free to go.
Thank you.
And next we call Todd Neighboring. Let's see if there's one together.
Before you sit down, sir, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and sit down.
Good morning, Mr. Nayrink. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Todd Nerink, TODDNEYRINCK.
Where are you currently employed?
Laidlaw Carriers.
And where did you work in April of 2021?
I worked for DDW Investments.
What was your role there?
I managed the trucking company.
Did you start out, what year did you start working for DDW Investment?
2006.
And was that full-time or part-time?
I started working for them part-time in 2006, and then it was full-time in July of 2007.
Did your role develop over time or did you always manage the trucking company?
We started off more or less with one truck, and we grew the business from there.
What were your job duties?
I managed the drivers, grew the customer base. I dealt with the customers on a day-to-day basis.
Did you interact with both Mr. Warner and Miss Warner in your role on the farm?
Yes,
And what was your relationship like with Miss Warner?
it was a good relationship over the years. It was probably closer than a person working for somebody should have with somebody.
Was it a relationship where you would speak every day?
Yes,
Either was it phone, text message, in person?
more in person than texting. I was not a great big fan of texting.
What was your relationship like with Mr. Warner?
Pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same.
Would you say you were closer with Miss Warner or Mr. Warner?
Closer to D over the years, actually, yes.
When was the last time that you saw Miss Warner for a date? What date?
It was Friday, the 23rd of April,
Of April, was what year was it?
2021.
And around what time did you see her?
It was around 3:30 p.m.
Where did you see her at?
in the office.
And what was her demeanor like?
She was agitated. She was not herself. She was not dressed normally. She was wearing sweatpants and just a loose fitting top, and she wasn't made up like normal. She was just not dressed like herself.
So that was Friday, April 23rd. Did you come on the Warner farm at all on April 25th, 2021?
At 3:25 a.m., I went to the farm on the 25th, picked up a truck that was loaded to go to Burns Harbor, Indiana. I was in and out of the farm in probably 10 or 12 minutes. I hooked the truck up, started it, and I left.
When you were on the farm for the 10 to 12 minutes, did you notice any lights on in the house?
The kitchen light was on in the house above the sink, and then the TV was on in both the living room and the bedroom, which was always normal.
Had you picked up loads before on the Warner farm at this time?
Yes, the previous Sunday I had done the exact same thing. I went to Burns Harbor, Indiana.
You picked up your truck and left. After you left the farm, did you ever go back that day?
I got back around 3:30 p.m. on the 25th.
And when you got back to the farm, who was on the farm?
Uh, there was Parker, Hardy, Raquel Bach, and Zach Bach were all in the office looking through the cameras, and I had gotten a call from Greg Hardy maybe a half hour prior to when I got back, and he was
I don't want you to get into what
okay.
anyone said.
Okay,
No, that's
okay,
okay. So
that's fine.
you saw
Okay.
Parker, Raquel, Zach. Did you see anyone else on the farm?
That's all I saw
Okay.
when I first got there.
And what did you do when you got there?
I went over to my side of the office. I had to send some custom papers in and get a couple of things in order for Monday, and I had to send a few of the driver's information. I got done and I left.
And did you see Mr. Warner at all after leaving the office?
I went over by the spray barn on the east side of the property. He was in the building. It loading the sprayer, and he walked out and talked to me. I did not walk into the building.
Did you see him welding at all that day?
No, ma'am.
Did you know Mr. Warner to weld things on the farm?
I've seen him weld, but
What have you seen him weld?
just anything that was broke. Just a various
When you say anything that was broke, was it farm equipment,
farm
household
equipment, or if something was broke on one of the trailers or trucks, he would weld it, but he didn't do that much welding like in the, more so when I first started working there.
You talked about farm equipment. Was there anything with the tilling farm equipment that would break and you saw Mr. Warner welding it?
There was a Kong skill tillage tool that broke that anytime they used it, something broke on the thing.
Do you know specifically what it was?
There's these baskets that would break, rocks would get in them, and they would have to be welded or twisted or some damn thing.
Again, just from what you've seen, did it have to take cutting and welding, just cutting, just welding?
It just depended on what was broken. I mean, there's a million things in the world that would break on the thing, and most of them required welding, cutting, or that type of thing.
And had you seen Mr. Warner fix that specific?
If there was
issue?
nobody else around, he would fix it.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you. Yes.
Was this water regained?
You indicated that you were at the Warner property on April 23rd, 2023.
Yes, at 3:30 p.m., ma'am.
All right, and Stephanie Vocal was there.
Just to clarify, I think you said 2023.
It was 21.
21. I apologize.
21.
I missed.
The years all run together. So
When I said 23, I apologize.
Yeah.
The 23rd of
Of-
2021.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Stephanie Vocal was present at that time, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And the Dee Warner you knew always liked to spend money on clothing, correct?
Correct.
Like to spend money on jewelry, correct?
Correct.
Like to get her hair done.
Got to do that too.
She had to like to get her nails done, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She always liked to dress to the nines.
She was always dressed up and ready to take on the world every day.
On April 25th, 2021, you indicated that you arrived at about
25.
3:25 and left about what time?
It was 3:40.
Okay. And can you take the pointer that you have up there and show me, number one, how you pulled in, where you went first?
I came in right there, pulled in. Oh, sorry. Parked my pickup right there.
So just for the record, it looks like you pulled in on the east side of the property, drove to the very north end of the property and towards the west behind the building marked number 2. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead. What'd you get next?
I started the truck, raised the landing gear, hooked up the hydraulic hose, the air lines, walked around quick, bumped the tires, parked my pickup out behind the tank, and then I walked back, got in the truck, and left.
Okay.
And I pulled out this way and went east on Munger Road and then south on Carson Highway. to N50.
Do you recall testifying earlier in this case?
Yes,
And do you recall giving statements in this case?
yes.
Do you recall indicating that you drove by the north side of the house to observe?
I didn't drive by the north side of the house, ma'am.
Okay, and did you observe the north end of the house?
I saw the light on and sorry, I observed the light on top of the kitchen sink in the house, and then the TV on in the living room and the TV on in the bedroom,
Okay.
which was the normal.
Did you observe any vehicles parked behind the house?
On the north side of the house,
Correct.
the Hummer and Dale's pickup were both parked there.
All right, I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 124. So when you left at 3:44 in the morning, do you see the X on the north side of the house?
Yes, that would have been where yes,
That was where the Hummer was parked?
correct.
Okay. What time did you get back to the property after your load that morning?
It was 3:30 p.m.
Okay, and you went into the office, talked to the kids, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, what time do you think you left?
It was right around 4:30.
Okay. And you indicated you saw Dale inside the spray barn loading the sprayer.
Correct. And then
Okay.
he walked out and talked to me, and then that was it. And then I left.
Okay, you didn't see the sprayer parked in between the building 1 and building 7 there?
No, I did not, ma'am.
Okay,
If I recall correctly, the sprayer was parked in the spray barn, and the hose was hooked up to the sprayer at that time, and that was what I remember.
okay, nothing further, thank you.
I don't know. We have no objections for releases.
Ms. Wise, can we release Mr. Merrick from the city?
Yes, John.
You can step down, you're free to go, or if you prefer to. I'm sure you probably would like to too. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a question from.
Okay, I didn't look at it either, so.
Right, we have one question. It's my understanding that there's no objection to that question.
That's correct.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay. In the last 2 years before April 25th, 2021, how many times have you seen Dale Well?
0. I mean, it wasn't.
Could I just have you look at the microphone so that, just to make sure his voice gets.
I didn't see him do any welding prior to that. I was not around the farm that much, though, to clarify.
Okay. Ms. Wise, any further follow-up on that issue?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Wise?
No, thank you.
No?
Now you're free to go. sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the defense would call Gregory Hardy.
Just squeeze it down onto the right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
I do.
You have a seat.
Good morning, Mr. Hardy. Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. I'm Greg Hardy, Gregghardy.
Thank you. And to be clear, Dee Warner was your sister,
That's
correct?
correct.
What's the age difference between the two of you?
19 years.
19 years, and you were 19 years her senior?
Yes,
Just now, your property is right next door to the Munger property, is that
that's
correct?
correct.
I want to take you to April 25th, 2021. Did your wife call you to indicate that Ms. Warner was missing?
That's correct.
Do you remember what time that was or about what time?
Maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, maybe a little later.
And then you were active during the course of the investigation to find Ms. Warner. Is that accurate?
I definitely wanted to find my sister.
And during the course of the case, is it true that you wanted to be one of the primary people that the prosecutor communicated with?
Well, I am her brother.
And is that because you indicated you were her full blood relative rather than her children?
I am her full blood relative.
Now, you also wanted to be told details of the investigation. Is that correct?
I was very interested in finding my sister.
Sure. And so, again, you wanted to be told details of the investigation. Is that correct?
The same answer, ma'am. I really was intent on finding my sister.
And so, again, sir, the question, I know you were intent on finding your sister. The question was, did you want to be told details of the investigation? Yes or no, or you don't remember, or you don't know?
I was expecting to work with authorities to find my sister.
So the answer is yes. Is that correct?
The answer is exactly as I said.
Okay. So, Mr. Hardy, I understand that you want to give some context to your answer, but I would just like a clear answer. Did you want to be told details of the investigation, sir?
Yes,
Thank you. And then during the course of the investigation, you actually offered a reward. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And that was on March 10th, 2022. You offered a $50,000 reward for your sister's remains,
That's
correct?
correct.
And at that point, your sister was still missing, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, I want to move on to the tank as it relates to finding your sister. Is it accurate that at one point you were in the or on the Warner property loading fertilizer and you had an eerie feeling?
No,
Okay, did you ever make that statement to the media?
I don't recall if I did.
Okay. Does that sound familiar at all that you would have been on the Warner property and that you had an eerie feeling?
I did buy fertilizer from my sister and her husband.
So, with that, you were allowed to go onto the property with, when I say alone, I mean, for instance, not escorted. So no one was near you, correct?
Yeah, I was,
There are several Warner properties.
Sure. So I'll clarify. So the Munger Road property is the property where fertilizer was stored and sold. Is that accurate?
yes,
And then you were allowed to go on the property and get fertilizer. Is that correct?
yes.
And does that include tanks? So you're allowed to get tanks and then take them?
Depends on the type of fertilizer.
Well, is some fertilizer stored in tanks?
Yes,
And so were you allowed to do that with that fertilizer that's stored in tanks?
yes,
And then you told the police that you knew where anhydrous tanks were located, including those that were not on the Munger property, correct?
yes,
And then you have also claimed that you told the Michigan State Police that there was a particular fertilizer tank that you wanted to them to search for on your sister's property. Is that correct?
repeat the question, please.
Sure. And it was long, so I'll kind of break it down a little bit. You've given interviews to the media,
Yes,
and that includes, for instance, 48 Hours, ID Discovery, and local news media, correct?
yes,
In one of those interviews, you have indicated that you told the Michigan State Police that there is a particular fertilizer tank that you wanted them to search for on your sister's property.
that's not true.
Okay. Ms. Saylor is going to queue up an interview that you gave. I'm sorry, beg your pardon? Oh, okay. Okay. Would you take that up to Mr. Hardy, please?
Mary, which interview is that?
It's the People ID Discovery interview?
25.
Yes. Let me know if you can't hear. Was that your voice, sir?
It was.
And that was you in the interview, correct?
Correct, it was.
And in that interview, you claimed that you told the Michigan State Police that there was a particular fertilizer tank that you wanted them to search for on your sister's property, correct?
I mentioned tank, but it wasn't that specific tank. It was a tank.
Sure. So I'm not saying that you said go look for tank 34, but I am indicating that you said you wanted them to look for a specific tank, correct?
Yes,
Thank you. And then once the tank was found, you told the police that you know how to cut an anhydrous tank open, right?
yes.
And then finally, you have indicated that you believe there is potential liability for you if the prosecutor does not obtain a conviction against Mr. Warner.
I don't think this is relevant.
It absolutely is relevant. It goes to credibility and bias.
I would overrule, I think that there's relevance there. So,
Thank you. So I'll repeat the question. You have indicated that you believe there is potential liability for you if the prosecutor does not obtain a conviction against Mr. Warner.
Well, I have spent 5 years of my life trying to find my sister's murderer.
That's not my question, sir, so I will ask it again. You believe there is potential liability for you if the prosecutor does not obtain a conviction against Mr. Warner.
Well, honestly, Mr. Warner's
Sir-
an evil person,
sir,
so I don't.
Sir,
Mr. Hardy, I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna direct the jury not to consider anything that was said in that last response. And Mr. Hardy, I'm gonna direct you to answer directly the question that you are asked.
Thank you.
Mr. Hardy, I'll ask again. You believe you have potential liability if the prosecutor does not obtain a conviction against Mr. Warner,
No.
correct?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think our recording system caught the last answer. So if you just please state your answer.
The answer is no.
I'd like you to take a look at page 37 for me. And Ms. Saylor, I will ask you to retrieve that when Mr. Hardy is done reviewing it. Thank you. Are you done, sir? Thank you. Thank you. You read that text message, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that text message was from you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated that you have potential liability if the prosecutor is not successful in getting a conviction against Mr. Warner, correct?
That's what the text says.
And you wrote that text, right?
I did.
Thank you. No further questions.
Morning, Mr. Hardy.
Good morning.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as People's Exhibit 175. Do you see tank number 8?
I do.
Do you recognize the Warner spray barn?
I do.
Is that the tank you're referring to?
It is.
Okay. So that was the tank that you wanted the Michigan State Police to find?
Yes.
And you had seen that tank in the barn, in that barn in the week after your sister went missing?
I did.
Okay. You were in college when Dee was born, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so did you never lived in the same home together?
We did not.
And the age difference, 19 years, what did that mean for you and your relationship with her?
Well, as you mentioned, I was already in school when my mom had my sister, and so we never really lived as a family.
Did you take on a kind of a father role with Dee?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, so one time when she was in high school, she had a big blowout party that you had to break up.
Yes,
To your knowledge, did she look up to you as a figure in business?
Objection, speculation.
If he knows, Your Honor, I preface the question that way, if he knows.
It would still be speculation.
I think it is still speculation.
Okay.
It's about her state of mind.
Very well.
sorry.
Your wife is Shelley.
Yes,
Okay. Did you see Dee try to emulate Shelley?
yes,
Okay. In what way?
and always.
Okay. Dress,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
her outgoing nature.
Can I have a minute?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I was just asking you about the way that you saw Dee emulate your wife, Shelley.
In every way, she was very respectful of Shelley.
Did they share an outgoing nature?
Very similar.
Family oriented?
Very much so.
Up until the time Dee went missing, what was your relationship like with Dale?
I had a very good relationship with Dale. We worked back and forth in business. It wasn't until a month or two after my sister went missing that deteriorated rapidly.
Okay, but up until that time, if you needed something that they might have, go down there and get it?
Both ways, the same way, yes.
Okay. Were you close enough that you would see what they were doing on their farm?
Yeah, my property was adjacent and surrounding it to a large degree.
Okay. On Sunday morning, April 25th, 2021, were you doing like your normal Sunday activities?
I did.
Okay, and you own a dairy farm, correct?
I do.
How long have you owned that farm?
My family for 5 generations.
Okay. And so on that Sunday morning, do you recall your activities?
Yeah, I did my normal routine, which is obviously I'm the owner, and so I'm in charge of everything. And the most important part of a dairy farm is the what we call the special needs cows. Those are the ones that have had babies or are sick. And so, and we also have a robotic milking operation. So I always check in on the robotics milking operation first, and then I go to the maternity barn, the special needs barn, and I work with my Spanish herdsman there to take care of those cows.
Okay. Is that Javier or Nicholas?
That's Nicholas.
Nicholas, okay. All right, and you said it's normally what you do. Do you recall that's what you did specifically on Sunday the 25th?
Well, every day on a dairy farm there is a new baby or a sick cow or whatever. And so there's always, I can't remember specifically which animal I might have attended to, but normally in that group, there's around 15 or 20 animals are receiving special attention.
And what time of the morning would that have been when you go up to that barn?
I'm an early person, so I would likely arrive there somewhere between 4:30 and 5 a.m. at the robot barn, and then I came down to the special needs barn somewhere maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Okay. And do you leave at some point for Wisner and Service? That intersection?
Sorry.
Do you leave at some point to go up to a part of your farm that's on Wisner and Service Road?
Yeah, after I finished up all my supervision and chores, I had a little bit of breakfast. It's normally routine for me. And then because of the particular weather conditions, then I wanted to chisel plow a section of a farm we own up off Service Road.
Okay. And at this point, this is not your normal routine, specifically on the 25th, you went up to chisel plow.
I did. It was it's kind of an unusual situation. That piece of property we used to try to build up the soil. We'd spread a heavy amount of manure on it. And early in the spring, when it's still cold, if you work that ground up, it has an opportunity to work that manure in and make the ground more tillable, have better tilth for planting later on in the spring.
Okay. And is that where you are when Shelley calls you to say Dee is missing?
Yes, I was.
And what did you do in response? Excuse me, in response?
Well, I was very surprised about the statement that Shelley made, and I immediately called, and I believe I also texted my sister.
Okay. And when you would call or text Dee, was it just to check in, or did you normally have a mission in mind?
Uh, I'm sorry. We didn't typically just chat. When I called her, it was about something important.
Okay. And was it normal for her to answer when you called?
Always.
Okay.
And if I didn't answer her, I would catch it.
Okay. So you called and you said you think you may have also texted?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
I did.
All right. And did she answer?
No, she did not.
All right. Did that concern you?
Yeah, it did concern me because, again, we are not the kind of people that just chat back and forth. If she called me or I called her, it was something usually of urgency. So she would always answer and I would always answer.
Okay. So at some point, does Shelley ask you what your opinion on whether the police should be involved?
Yeah, after she and my son searched for Dee.
Okay, so you heard back from them after Parker is your son
Yes, he is.
and Shelley searched the Munger farm. Okay. And do you have any idea what time of, should I me to wait for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you have a sense of what time of day it was when you had the conversation with Shelley about whether the police should be involved? Is it?
I believe it was afternoon. She and Parker had looked and they were kind of trying to put together potential pieces, and it was obvious that she had left without her car and without Angelina, and that became alarming to me.
Okay. So at some point, do you then go home and then with Shelley come down to see what's going on at the Munger farm?
I finished the field that I was working in. They were actively involved in searching and actively involved in working, looking at the cameras at the office. My son was, Parker, and Shelley had gone to the office to also participate in trying to determine where Dee could have gone without her car, without Angelina.
Okay. So that prompts you then to come down yourself with Shelley?
I finished, and it kept persisting. We were thinking that anytime something would turn up, some logical reason, So I finished that field, came back and I probably checked in at with my herdsmen. And then I said to Shelley, I'm gonna go down and see Dale.
Okay, and do you see him?
I did.
Where was he when you saw him?
Well, Shelley went with me. Um, he was in a tractor in a field, straight east of their home farm, tilling, what we would call soil finishing a part of the field.
Okay. Um, going east across Carson,
Yes.
there's a house that Brandon Jarvis had lived in at one point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had rented that house and property, and behind that is a field that Dee and Dale owned.
Okay, and where was Dale in relation to that house, that
Right.
white house?
Almost directly east of the house, and he was tilling the field only, but what was alarming to me or surprising to me, he was only tilling part of the field.
Okay, and when you till a field, is that so that you can get it ready for planting?
Yes, that's correct.
Would it be unusual to wait a week or 2 or 3 between tilling and planting?
Objection. While Mr. Hardy has run a dairy farm, I think we're getting into expert farming territory.
I think as a lay witness, he can offer, I mean, he's a lifetime farmer. I think he can offer his lay opinion on this.
I would move that objection.
So is it unusual? Well, what's the usual course? You fit the field, right?
Generally, depending on your type of farming, but you would till the field, allowing the soil to be tilled up to make a good seed bed. And then you would generally directly plant relatively close behind that within a few hours, or maybe at least maybe a day or a day and a half.
And from your own observations, you said that Dale was tilling that field on Sunday afternoon. Do you know when he planted it?
Much later,
Hours, days, weeks?
weeks.
Okay. And what time of day was it when you met him in the field?
I'm sorry, the
What
question,
time of day?
around 8 p.m.
Okay. Do you remember if it was light, dusk, dark?
Well, April 25th, it was basically like getting towards dusk, but still very light.
Okay.
No reason for lights or anything yet.
Okay. All right. So did you ask him what's going on?
I did.
And what did he say?
He said, well, she took off. We had a hell of a fight. She left and I said, well, what do you mean she left? He said, well, she took a to-go bag, her curling iron, makeup bag, her phone, and maybe 1 or 2 other things that he mentioned. And she took off, and then he reached in his left pocket of his jeans and pulled out her wedding ring and was bouncing it up and down like a golf ball.
Okay. Was Angelina mentioned in that conversation?
When I questioned him where Angelina was and how Dee would have left, he did mention that she was not there.
Okay. And so that was unusual to you that if Dee had left, she would not have taken Angelina?
Very unusual.
On average, up till that point, how often in a week would you say would you have a interaction with Dale?
Well, depend on the time of year. I mean, it could be every day. It could be several times a day, and it could be once every couple, 3 weeks. I mean, in the wintertime, for example, or something, when we were not actively farming, all of us, I might not see him only maybe once every week or 2, but in a busy time of the year, frequently.
Is April, would you consider that a busy time of year?
It was starting to be the very busy time of the year. It started perhaps about the 10th or 15th of April, and it escalates as the calendar clicks on.
Okay. The week after Dee went missing, how many times do you think you interacted with Dale?
I'm sorry,
The week after Dee went missing, how many times do you think?
extremely frequently.
Okay. More so than the norm, even for April?
Yeah, we were, I was concentrating on the situation at hand, and communicating with Dale for me was critical.
Okay. And he had said to you that she had left without either vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
And did he have a theory at that point in time what had happened to her?
His theory to me when I asked him was that somebody must have quote unquote picked her up.
Okay. All right. So did you then want to follow up on, okay, who could it be that would have picked her up?
Well, it seemed very unusual. First of all, if someone were going to pick my sister up, it would likely have had to be somebody she knew. Actually, when I said to him, I said, you know, she couldn't have just looked in the yellow pages on Sunday morning and picked out somebody to come pick her up. So who would have taken her somewhere?
Right. And were you familiar with a lot of the people that she had grown up with, known through 4-H, known through high school, those kind of things?
Well, yes, we have a close knit community. So, you know, her best friend in high school was my best friend's sister. So yes,
All right. So what did you do to try to chase down anybody who may have picked her up?
I called it anybody that I could think of.
Okay. Friends, family.
Friends, family, coworkers, everybody I could possibly think of.
All right. Do you have an idea of how many people you called in this effort?
I'm sure over 100.
Did Dale ever say anything to you that he was doing the same kind of effort, making these calls?
No, it bothered me a lot because he wasn't doing anything.
Objection, and move to strike lack of personal knowledge. He wouldn't know what Mr. Warner is doing.
To your knowledge, and you
Okay,
just,
so-
oh, sorry,
So
I can withdraw that
if you
question.
have a response, I'll take a response, but you can't just continue on because we have to do the objection.
Understand, I agree, Your Honor. I can rephrase the question.
Okay, so I will sustain that objection and will strike the answer and direct the jury not to consider the last answer.
You indicated that you dealt with Dale a lot that first week after Dee went missing.
I did.
In the conversations that you had, not anything other than that, did he indicate to you any efforts that he was making to find Dee?
Repeat the question, please.
So in the interactions that you had with Dale in the week after Dee went missing, did he ever indicate to you, did he ever tell you, this is what I'm doing to try to find my wife?
No.
On the Monday morning after the 25th, so April 26th, did you have a conversation with Dale?
I did.
Okay, and where did that take place?
He came to my office at my robotic milking facility.
Okay, did he have a phone with him?
No.
Okay,
Well,
did
he may have had his own phone. I'm not sure.
right? Did he mention a phone in relation to your son Parker?
He did.
All right, what did he say to you?
He asked if Parker would be able to get a phone that he had told me that was Dee's old phone that they'd recently replaced when they were either in Florida or on a trip. And she and he had gotten new phones, and Dee had left an old phone in the motorhome. And he had found that phone and wanted to know if Parker could arrange to get her phone number, her phone system hooked up to that phone.
Okay, so he wanted the information off the phone that she had replaced when they were in Florida.
That's correct.
Okay. Did he ever mention that he had been locating these Escalade through OnStar?
Yes.
Okay, and in that context, did you have an idea of how the two of you could find where Dee might be?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say?
Well, my thought was that when he had said he had been tracking her because he wanted to know where she was, I said, well, if you've been tracking her, why don't we take those locations and we can go to those locations, and if she is left with someone, we could maybe find those locations and see if they perhaps have security cameras. We could then identify whoever this person was that she supposedly left with, and we could get that information and try to track that person down.
Okay, was he interested in that idea?
I know.
after about 10 days that Dee had been missing, did you sit down with Dale and tell him that you wanted him to do something in particular regarding a reward?
Yeah, I wouldn't say for sure it was 10 days, but it was somewhere in that neighborhood,
Okay,
10 days to 2 weeks. You know, we'd been working, my family and I and everyone that I knew or friends of Dee's had been working heavily to try to find her. And it just wasn't adding up. And so I requested Dale to come to my office on Sunday morning, and a Sunday morning, which he did do. And I, by this time, was getting pretty stern about this. And I suggested there were two things that were going to happen that day.
I just want to know about the reward.
Yes, I told him that I thought he should offer a cash reward for the public to find his wife.
Okay, and did he agree to that?
No,
Did you end up doing it?
I did.
Some point, did you organize a search party of people that were concerned that Dee was missing and to search various properties?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
From that week, starting on Sunday, April 25th, 21, you know, at first, I got really no significant interest from Dale in wanting to make it public. But as the week went on, I decided that perhaps we should take a search party with family and members of the community who are willing to, and walk the properties just to make sure that something wasn't out there somewhere. Dee wasn't somehow went out and self-harm or been hurt or whatever happened, and tried to just check that box off to make sure we couldn't find her anywhere.
Do you have do you have an idea of how many people participated in that search?
Probably around 30.
Okay, and do you have any idea of how many acres were searched that day?
Oh, from 500 or 600 to 1,000. We covered everything from basically M52 clear down to Tipton Highway, which is basically almost 3 miles, and east to west, and we covered north to south, at least 3/4 or a mile each direction, north to south as well.
North and south of the farm, of the
That's
Munger farm.
correct.
Okay.
Our center point was at at Dee's home.
Did Dale participate in that?
He did not.
At some point, did you get a copy of Dee's phone records?
I did.
What did you do with those?
Well, I wanted to know who she last communicated with. I mean, just common sense tells you that if someone's missing, you want to know who they've most recently talked to. And so, I, from my nephew who was working in the office, we took a copy of her records and started tracing down her calls.
Okay, and what do you mean by tracing them down?
Well, just look to see if we recognized a number. And if we didn't recognize the number, I would just call them and ask them.
Okay, did that give you any leads?
Yes,
Okay, did you trace them? Did you track them down?
I did.
Okay, never found Dee?
Never found Dee.
Never found anybody who knew where she was?
No, I did not.
At some point, you made a public request for anybody in the public who might have an idea to come forward, didn't you?
Yes.
How did you do that?
I did it with billboards. I did it with a podcast. I did it with news media who were very helpful. Anybody that I could make, and you know, you depend on your friends to pass the word, and that's how I did it.
Approximately how many billboards do you know?
Well, there were a 2 or 3 standard billboards, and then there was a very kind gentleman. Sorry. A very kind gentleman who had a billboard company in Toledo, electronic billboards, and he offered to put up a message trying to find Dee.
Did you get a lot of support from the public?
Huge.
Nothing that ever led to Dee's discovery, though.
I'm sorry.
Nothing that ever led to Dee's discovery at this point in time.
No.
Okay. In 1 year. Oh, give me a second. The year anniversary of her disappearance, you had a vigil.
Yes, the second one. Yes.
Oh, there was one before that.
Yes.
Okay, when was the first one?
I think in November,
Okay.
after she went missing in April.
All right. Can you tell us where you were when you found out that her remains had been located?
Yeah, I was at my farm.
Okay, and how were you notified?
Detective Dreyer called me.
Okay, and can you describe your reaction?
Objection, relevance.
I'll withdraw the question. Thank you, Anna. I have nothing further. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I got one more thing. It's on the front side of my page. You said that on direct examination, you had indicated that you think you may have some liability if Dale is not found guilty.
Yes.
Is that because of some public statements that you have made about your belief in this case?
Yes.
Okay, and what are those public statements?
Objection, hearsay.
I think she opened the door by asking about whether he believes he has liability. I'd want to ask why he believes. Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
For the record, of the fact that I have sustained the objection because I believe that the answer would call for an opinion based, an opinion as to the ultimate issue in the case, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hardy, when you were talking about the search that was done in the week or so after your sister went missing, do you remember that Mr. Warner was with Angelina when that search was being conducted?
I certainly don't know where he was.
Do you remember him telling you he was going to be with Angelina
No,
while
I
the
do
search?
not.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
No retros. All right, are we excusing Mr. Hardy from the subpoena at this point?
Oh, there's.
Oh, we have some, Okay, so we have 5 questions from the jury. My understanding that the attorneys agree that 4 will be asked and 1 should not be asked.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's correct.
Have you ever noticed any bipolar tendencies from Dee, and would you consider Dee to be bipolar?
No, but she would love me and hate me at the same time. She's a,
Have you witnessed Dee abusing prescription pills?
absolutely not.
Were you aware Dee would leave at days at a time? If so, what alarmed you when you were notified this time?
She did come to our home for a safe haven, because of her closeness, particularly with Shelley, her wife. But when she did come, she would bring her children with her. And she would always share the frustration and explain the toxicity of her marriage.
Objection goes to hearsay. And also exceeds the scope of the question.
All right, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's hearsay, but I do think it probably exceeds the scope of the question.
Okay, so I will sustain that objection. I'll strike the last portion of that answer. Again, direct the jury not to consider the last statement. At what point did your relationship with Dale start going bad?
It went gradually over about a 2-month period. I spent endless hours trying to
Your Honor,
prove.
I would ask that the witness just be directed to answer the question. It was at what point he said at 2 months and it was gradual. Anything more than that exceeds the scope of the question.
So Your Honor's discretion.
Okay, so sir, I'll just ask you, ask at what point, I think you said how long it took, but at what point did this happen is what the question is asking. So if you could answer that question.
What point did I?
At what point did the relationship start going bad?
Approximately 2 months after my sister went missing.
Ms. Chardy, do you have any follow-up questions based on your questions?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hardy, you indicated your sister would come to your home with her children. Who would be the children?
Well, one time it was Raquel and Zach. There was another time, I don't recall which children came, to be honest.
So it sounds like it was quite a ways before. And the reason I say that is Angelina, there's a gap between Angelina and her oldest sibling. So when was the last time? Do you think it was years before she went missing?
Um, I would say that the most recent time that she took safe haven at our home was probably sometime maybe 3 or 4 years before she went missing. I can't tell you exactly.
No, that's great. Thank you. And then you indicated that essentially your sister sometimes would love you and hate you at the same time. I just want to make sure I understand. So she would be mad at you one moment, and then after that, kind of quickly get over it. And if I'm wrong about your paraphrase, let me know.
No, I said that.
Okay.
She has she had a very dynamic personality. She was very outgoing. She would be very loving to me, but if she disagreed with me, I would really know it.
Okay.
But the interesting part is if she were mad at me today, she'd probably hug me tomorrow.
I have no additional questions, sir. Thank you.
More recently, within the last year or two before April 2021, were you aware that she would go to the lake house sometimes and stay?
I was told that. I was never witnessed it, but I've told that.
Okay. And in any of the times that she would have gone away from the Munger farm for a day or two, was she ever out of contact from you?
Well, she would maybe not contact me one day when she was gone, but if she didn't need anything, she wouldn't contact me. But I mean, there was no time that I was ever out of communication that my sister wouldn't answer my call.
Okay,
Never.
great. Thank you.
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Okay, and are we excusing Mr. Hardy from speaking?
Yes, sir.
That's fine, Your Honor. Yes, thanks. You can step down or free to go, or you're free to remain in the courtroom if you wish to.
Your Honor, at this point, the defense rests. Thank you.
Ms. Wise, will people have any rebuttals?
Can we have a brief recess to determine that, Your Honor?
Certainly.
Thank you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we will take about a 10-minute recess and we'll come back and resume. That was not asked of the jury, that the jury asked, which was not asked of Mr. Hardy, and that was, do you know of any enemies Dee may have had? All right, anything else we need to address on the record at this?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
No, thank you.
Just that both sides agreed that that was not going to be.
Yes, thank you, Mr. McCready. Both sides did agree that that question would not be asked.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a 10-minute recess.
Certain quarters and second, yeah. I told them they were exciting. Maybe see it.
Okay. Are we ready to have our jurors brought back?
Yes, Your Honor, there will be no further rebuttal from the people.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so just procedure wise, then. So you're not calling any further witnesses, will be. Before you do that.
Not for the dates of the photographs, I think for the exhibits, but if you want to do them all at the same time, then we would need to do that later.
Okay.
So I thought we were just going to do the exhibits in the dates of the photographs, that we were going to meet and go through the book to make sure that it was correct, so that the court would essentially be done with us.
I don't have the dates of the photographs right now.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
All right, so why don't we bring them in, release them, we'll take a break for you to resolve any remaining issues that need to be resolved, and then we can come back on the record and take care of everything at one time.
Great, thank you.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, so just let me know.
All right, and Ms. Wise, do people have any rebuttal witnesses that they would like to write?
No, Your Honor.
So ladies and gentlemen, there are some procedural things that we need to address at this point in the trial, and so we are going to break for today in order to do that. Tomorrow, since it was a late start day and the attorneys have requested some time to prepare for closing statements, we're going to give them the day to do that. So we're going to come back on Thursday at 9 a.m. To hear the closing statements, and we will proceed from there. So you are released for today. During the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, the witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and the lawyers must have the ability to cross-examine. Because news reports do not have to meet these standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that unfairly favors one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instructions. Thank you, and we will see you back on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. All right, is there anything that needs to be addressed outside the presence of the jury at this?
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then, if you want to review the issues you need to review, I will be available. Just let me know when you're ready to go back on the record.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.